Namaskar. Today I am going to talk in detail about the Russia-Ukraine war. In the yearly predictions that I had done in April, I had discussed Russia and Ukraine, but not in a lot of detail. I had said that the war doesn't seem to be stopping anytime now. However, now I'm looking at both these charts, Ukraine's and Russia's, and also Zelensky's and Putin's, along with their oath-taking chart, what you call as the inauguration of the president, along with the chart of Biden and USA. Now, I will also be doing this chart in Hindi, and that should be up by tomorrow, and that's how it is. So, I am going to discuss, there is no editing in this video, so I am going to take the birth details and share them with you, and you can note them down. So, for Ukraine, 24th August 1991, 1830 hours, Kiev, Ukraine. This is a Makar Lagna chart with Saturn retrograde and Moon, the 7th Lord, in the Lagna. Now, you can note something, I'll share something very interesting with you. Saturn had moved into Capricorn or Makar in early 2020. This is an old research of my Jyotish Guru K.N. Rao sir, that whenever Saturn moves into Capricorn, world order changes. Saturn stays in a particular Rashi for 2.5 years. In this case, because of retrogression and direct motion, Saturn will move out of Makar or Capricorn in the third week of January, around the third week of January 2023. So, that has been the duration of Saturn in Makar. What might not be very evident right now, the seeds for that change have already been sown, and one will see that these 2.5 years have formed the cradle of change, will be forming the cradle of change. You might not realize it immediately. Now, coming back to the horoscope of Ukraine. Makar Lagna horoscope, Saturn retrograde and Moon in Lagna. Now, very interesting to note that the degrees of Chandrama, Moon, 28 degree 54 minutes in Dhanishta Nakshatra in Makar. So, the one sign is 30 degrees, Moon is at the very end of that sign. Now, Saturn had moved into Makar in January 2020. In February 2022, Saturn moved into Dhanishta Nakshatra. Dhanishta Nakshatra starts at 23 degree 20 minutes in Capricorn, Makar, and goes on till 6 degree 40 minutes, Kumbha. Every nakshatra is 13 degree 20 minutes with four padas. Here, Chandrama is in the second pada of Dhanishta Nakshatra. Saturn moved into Dhanishta Nakshatra, crossed 23 degree 20 minutes in February 22, and we know what started for Ukraine in that period. Now, Saturn on the 24th of October 22 is again becoming direct. Saturn is retrograde right now. It is going to become direct on the 24th of October. That is also the day of an eclipse. I will do a separate video on the eclipse. On the 24th of October, Saturn turns direct in Dhanishta Nakshatra at 24 degree 24 minutes. Now, when it turns direct, that is happening on the 24th of October, but on the 16th of October this year, so in the next few days, on the 16th of October, there is another important transit of Mars on Ketu. Ketu is in Gemini for the Ukraine horoscope. Mars is going to move into Gemini on the 16th of October. Mars will remain direct and retrograde and again go direct in Gemini. This is going to continue till March, April 2023. This is not going to be a good period for Ukraine at all. From 16th October, problems are only going to build up because Mars on Ketu in the 6th house. This Mars will also aspect Chandrama in Makar with its 8th aspect. Saturn is already there and directing on 24th of October, Diwali, which also has an eclipse. So from 16th of October, Ukraine and Russia, Ukraine is going to suffer some more, and it is not going to be just what we have seen. It's going to be far more troublesome and dangerous. So 16th October, that picks up and goes on till mid-November, when Mars becomes retrograde and moves into Taurus. That will be a bit of a respite. Again, from the end of December and all of January, Ukraine seems to be suffering a lot. Why? Because Saturn will be exactly at 28 degrees from the end of December throughout January. It will cross the degrees of Chandrama, and that will be very troublesome. That will cause the war to only build up. From 16th October, the war is only building up. And these are the milestones: 16th October, 24th October, 24th November. And then from December onwards, it's becoming incendiary. Not that it is not already incendiary, but it's going to be really bad. January is going to be extremely troublesome for Ukraine. I have already discussed with you the transit of Mars. Also remember, as I said, Mars is going to do this to and fro movement almost till March. In fact, it is only in the early week of July that Mars moves into Leo. If you ask me, this entire year, which starts from October 23 to October 22 till November 23, seems to be extremely troublesome, because the dashas are very bad and the transit is supporting it. Just the transit cannot do much, because it's not that Mars did not come on Gemini for Ukraine in all these years. It's the dasha that is bad, and this transit is just a delivery boy, is a celestial courier boy. It is going to deliver now what is due as part of your prarabdha karma, but the dasha has to be there. The transit is subservient, is subordinate to the dasha. Always remember that. There are many videos on YouTube where transit is being discussed, but remember, if you don't have the dasha, just the transit cannot harm you. That is most important to understand. The dasha for the horoscope of Ukraine is Jupiter Venus as of now. Both of them are in the 8th house, not showing any good results. After that, Ukraine runs Jupiter Sun in 2024. So if one looks at this horoscope in detail, Jupiter Venus, Jupiter Sun, Jupiter Moon, this is going on till almost the mid of this decade, almost till early 2026. So there doesn't seem to be any respite. Ukraine is going to be in the eye of the storm, not for 6 months, not for 8 months, for a long time. For a long time. And even towards the end of the decade, I'm not going to detail it out here, but towards the end of the decade, again, this comes in the eye of the storm and will become the reason for many countries fighting. In April also, if you recall the video, if you haven't seen it, you can watch it. I had said that NATO countries are going to support Ukraine, and together they are going to fight, for Ukraine. Now, if I were to just, explain this through a character of Mahabharata, I would say Ukraine is Shikhandi. I am not by any measure linking or equating USA to Arjun, but that is Ukraine is just the cover. USA is fighting a proxy war, and that is very clear from the horoscopes as well. And Russia has always been saying that Washington is fighting a proxy war. So that is a sense that you need to get, that Ukraine is just that character of Shikhandi. Okay, just the cover, just the farce. Somebody else is fighting and somebody else is the receiver of those arrows. Not saying that in this case Russia is Bhishma, but just Shikhandi is a metaphorical explanation. So I've already said that from 16th October, from 24th October. So without getting into milestones, if we look at mid of October and then again we look at mid-November, it's going to be troublesome. Even though Saturn moves into Kumbh in January, when it retrogrades again in June, it is going to be troublesome. So this is not going to augur well. This is going to be the start of some very serious battles which will be fought across countries. 30th September, Ukraine formally applied for a NATO membership, and after the annexation of southern and eastern parts of Ukraine to Russia, Ukraine has tried to sort of fast track its membership in NATO. This is not going to augur well. In fact, Zelensky is making a big mistake. I can look at the charts and tell you this. It's not personal, this thing. A lot of people say that, this is just what the charts are telling and what I'm communicating to you. Zelensky, of course, is making a mistake. As I said, this is just USA fighting a proxy war with Russia, and Russia therefore is not just looking at it as Ukraine, getting a membership in NATO. It will just open the borders. It will just make the borders of Russia porous, and if the NATO countries and USA move on till Ukraine, then they're very close to Moscow. So Russia is protecting its turf, what might not be visible to the world. Putin is not going to give up right now, nor step down, nor step back. Zelensky has been saying that I will have talks with Russia after Putin moves out. That doesn't seem to be happening. If we look at the oath taking or the inauguration of President Putin, that happened in 2018 in May. If one looks at that chart, then clearly till his next term, Putin is going to be at war. So the next term happens, the presidential election happened in March 2024. Till that time, Putin will be at war with Russia, will be at war with Ukraine. That can be said from the oath-taking time of Putin. If we look at the oath-taking time of Zelensky, which happened again in 2018, that's a 5-year membership for Russia. For Zelensky, presidential inauguration happened in 2019. It's a 5-year presidential term. For Putin and for Russia, it happened in 2018. It's a 6-year presidential term. So both will go on till 2024. In Zelensky's chart, problems are building up, and he is being foolhardy. For lack of another word, let me just say that. The dashas that Zelensky's chart are running, and let me just share Zelensky's details with you. 25th January 1978, 1400 hours, Krivy or Krivy Rog or Krivy, it's a proper noun, so I'm not, absolutely in line with the pronunciation of Russian or Ukrainian countries, so please bear with me. In this chart, the dashas that are running are also showing trouble. There are things that one can only say in Hindi and not in English, so I want to say this. When one looks at this chart, one can say कि Zelensky का अस्तित्व जो है वो मिटता दिखता है. Now for अस्तित्व, I didn't find the correct English word, so I'm using that. I think it gives more, it's just more impactful with what I say in Hindi here. So the mistakes are immense. With Saturn moving into Kumbh, the troubles are again, they are again building up only. So till 2024, the next election comes, this is an unceasing war. It'll just have periods of high voltage drama and then periods of some low voltage drama, but it's an unceasing war. Be very clear about that. I'll also share the horoscope of Putin with you, the one that I'm using. Okay, I don't seem to be getting it. Okay, 7th October 1952, 14:21 hours, St. Petersburg, Russia. It's a Scorpio Lagna chart. Now, the dashas that I see in Putin's chart, and as I have said, till 2024, he is definitely fighting this war till the next election. So, clearly, till 24, there seem to be, till the next election of both these presidential candidates, there seems to be a tough time. Now, if we look at the chart of USA and also of President Biden, the mistake that USA is committing now will have far-reaching consequences. Be very sure of that. In fact, in this next 1 decade, the economy of USA is going to go down. USA is that representation of Maya. When Khand Pralay happens, and that is a word that, my Jyotish Guru has said very many times. When Khand Pralay happens, Maya sort of settles down. People get grounded and come to terms with reality, but through a lot of troubles, through a lot of war, through a lot of disease, through a lot of pain and suffering. So, if one looks at this horoscope of USA, which is 4th July 1776, 10:18 a.m., the dashas that are coming up in the charts of USA, especially that of Rahu Saturn, it's a Sim Lagna horoscope. The dasha of Rahu Saturn is going to be troublesome. When Saturn moves into Aquarius, the chart of USA has natal Chandrama in Aquarius. Saturn's movement, I didn't give you the, my mistake, I didn't give you the city. It's Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, USA for the US chart. When Saturn moves into Aquarius, on the natal Chandrama of USA, it will only show troubles. Again, Saturn in Pisces. So, clearly from 23 to mid 25, first quarter 25, USA will be in trouble, and that can be seen very, very clearly. Rahu Ketu, when they transit, currently they are in the Aries Libra axis. From here, they are going to move into the Pisces Virgo axis. When that happens, it is going to be furthermore troublesome for USA. Why? Because USA is going to run the dasha of Rahu Saturn, and Saturn is in Virgo. When this axis attacks this natal Saturn, when the Rahu Ketu axis in transit attacks this natal Saturn whose dasha is running, then it will be very troublesome for the US. That will happen sometime end of 23, early 24. So, what might not be visible, so specifically Rahu Saturn starts in the end of November 2023. I am not discussing other dashas with you. The end of November 2023, Rahu Saturn starts, and in a couple of months from that, the Rahu Ketu axis will get hold of Saturn, and this is going to be troublesome because by that time Saturn would also be transiting on Moon. So, clearly the year of 24 seems to be very, very troublesome for US, including the first half of 2025. So, late 23 to like the middle of 25 seems to be very troublesome. Rahu Mercury will be better. However, Rahu Saturn is going to be troublesome. The full dasha of Rahu Saturn is November 23 to September 26. In this, the concentrated period is till mid 25. So, the mistake that Biden is making by involving US in this war is not going to go well. It will have long-term consequences. Earlier, US had been interfering, getting into, let me not use the word interfering, let me say like becoming the world daddy, and deciding which country has a nuclear power, and therefore which country needed to be slapped. So they had been doing that. Now that same strategy is not going to work, because as I said, US is the representative of that seed of Maya. So this is going to settle down in Khanda Pralay. Now another interesting point that I'm going to share with you here is that now I have studied in Bharati Vidya Bhavan, and I have been a research scholar for many long years. I started studying there in 2005, and I still continue with I still continue to study from Rausar. It's 2022 right now. There are a lot of Russian and Japanese students who come and study at Bharati Vidya Bhavan through international courses, or they stay in India and then study, especially from these two countries. There was a Russian student who came to Rausar and asked him, he was from Ukraine, and he asked him about Ukraine in 2013. Rausar gave him a lot of predictions, including Crimea is going to go to Russia. He also said 2020 to 2023 is going to be drastic for Ukraine. There will be war. So all of this, that student of Rausar's from Ukraine, he shared, and said, sir, you had told me this in 2013, almost like, many years back, and now it is coming out true. So as Rausar says, Jyotish is a super science. 10 years before, he could tell and pinpoint and say, this year, this month, this is going to happen. But it requires a legend like my guru to say this and to pinpoint to the timing of events with such accuracy. Biden's chart too is showing troubles from the beginning of 2024, and as I said, 2023 end to 2026 end is Rahu Saturn. Within that, the concentrated period starts from 2023 end to mid 2025 for USA. Economy will suffer. In fact, this whole decade will be troublesome for the US. This whole decade, India is going to rise irrespective of opposition. But we are going to just move up the ladder, and I will discuss that. When I do a video on the eclipse, I will discuss that as well. From 25-26, Putin suffers a jolt. I will discuss that later. But as of now, to summarize, the war is just building up. From 16th October, it is only building up. And this whole year, from this October till next November, till their presidential elections in 2024, it's going to be troublesome. With that, thank you. Namaskar.